Hello, I'm Rebecca Flaherty. Welcome back, and today we're making this beautiful floral repeat pattern tile in Procreate. This video is part of my series that uses the pattern maker canvas, combining it with the trailing floral templates from my Etsy store to help you get even more creative value out of your pattern making tools. Don't forget there's a whole new set of free floral stamp brushes, quite the mouthful, 6 palettes and a gold texture available in the Pattern Maker's Toolkit to make your process even more fun. We're using the diamond method again, and since we're working with trailing floral templates, these tutorials are a slightly faster intermediate level. If you need a little more of an introduction to these, I've linked my beginner series of videos in the description. And if you don't have the templates yet, you can download a free sample and make a quick DIY diamond guide with a 3600 pixel canvas and hand-drawn diamond in the sketch layers. Let's get started. So let's start by bringing in our floral template. So from the gallery screen, we're going to go to Import and bring in Trailing Floral Template 5. And it is going to have a plain white canvas when we open it up. The template is in there, you just need to turn it on in the sketch layer, and it's saved without that showing because it uses a smaller file size. So we're going to open this group up, click on the template layer, tap on it and copy. Then we can come out into the gallery and bring in our pattern maker canvas. So again, go to Import and we're going to bring in this one, Pattern Maker Canvas Updated. And on this one, we are going to go into the Layers folder, into the Sketch folder, tap on this layer at the bottom, swipe down with 3 fingers and paste our template in. Then we can just jump straight in and fill in these flowers on the template here by going to our Draw Here First layer, which is empty. And I'm going to grab this flower here. It's the one with 5 on it because we're using it on Canvas 5. And this is the Florals 2.0 set, which is a free add-on that you can find in the Pattern Maker's Toolkit. And I'm going to grab the palette for this one, Canvas 5. And I'll just use this dark colour to stamp this flower shape into each one of these black circles. So although these stems are pink, the flowers circle placeholders are black, so we will stamp it into these as well. And the brush size that I've got for this is 9%. So I'm just going to stamp that into each one of these. And then the ones we draw over these black parts will be used to fill the blue parts around the edges. So let's merge this down with our sketch diamond and put those in place so that we know what we're working around. Duplicate this layer, tap transform, make sure you've got magnetics snapping on and that they're both turned all the way up, and then bring this down and to the left and snap it into place there. Then duplicate the bottom one again and snap it into the top corner here, and you'll see these flowers are starting to fill the spaces around the edge. And then this last one down there. Then you can pinch the top 4 together, and I'm going to invert the colours on this. It's not very visible. Maybe if I change the background colour to white as we're working through this so you can see a bit better. And then we'll know that it's just these ones that we have to draw. I'm not going to trace over all the leaves in the sketch layer because they are all marked out, all the positions of the leaves and stems. But if you wanted to play around with the positioning and move things around, then you could add those to this sketch diamond layer and then put them around the edge to make sure that everything lines up perfectly. But because everything's in here, it's a nice, fun, easy tracing job for us, and we can move straight on to the pattern folder now. So I'm going to turn the pattern group on and tap onto this layer here, and this is a trailing floral template, which means on this diamond pattern tile some parts go over the edge and carry on onto the next tile, so we have to make sure they line up properly. So there's a few stems that we need to put in first. I'm going to grab this orange colour, and from my drawing set I'm going to grab the tracing crayon, and the first one that we want to put in is this one here, which matches up with down there. So I'm going to start under this flower and bring it down there. Trying to stick as closely as I can to the dotted lines. And then we can use this to help us merge in with down there and also start from up there. So we put a mark going off the corner on this layer. Then we're going to duplicate it, tap transform, and bring one of them down to here and snap it into the corner there. And then duplicate the bottom one again, tap transform, and bring one up into this top corner there, making sure that you've got those orange lines there to show it's snapped into place properly. Top two you can pinch together and then make sure you are then working off this bottom layer. So we can use this as a guide, carry on this line and merge it in with itself down there. So then we've got this continual line going along there, and then this line here needs to merge in with this one. So let's start that off here. And merge it in down there. Then you can get rid of this top one and trace over all the other black lines on this layer. As I mentioned in all of this series of videos, you can make the leaf shapes any shape you like. You don't have to stick to the exact shape that I'm using here. If you want to make them wildly different, then I would suggest laying them out in the sketch layer first to make sure that they all still line up properly. But as long as you stick to the shapes that we have here and don't go into another leaf's territory, you should be safe knowing that they're all going to fit together. And while we're talking about making it your own and making it look a little different, you should note that you can sell your finished derivative patterns on platform like Spoonflower. Just make sure that they're made with your own changes, like changing up the leaf shapes, changing the flower motifs, or changing up the colours. And also don't forget that copying patterns and using someone else's work as a reference is a really good way to learn and practice new techniques. And not all drawing that you do has to be with selling in mind. It is fun to just draw for fun, to help you relax and unwind, or just to inspire yourself by trying something new. For example, if we buy a colouring book, we don't sit there colouring that in thinking, oh, it's worthwhile doing this because I'm going to sell it. We buy the colouring book to colour in just to have fun colouring it in. And it's the same with these patterns. Some you might make because you want to sell them, and other times you might just want to sit down and do a bit of tracing and colouring, because it is really fun and it is really relaxing as well. The thing I found is that I got back into art as an adult for kind of like journaling and as a mindfulness activity, but then I ended up making that my job. And so now, to relax and unwind and not feel like I'm also doing work, I've made knitting my thing. So I'm always knitting jumpers and sweaters like that in my spare time to unwind and do something that doesn't feel like work. When you come to this part here, just kind of go from about there, and we'll be doing the pink parts in the extra folder later. So as long as you start there, we can use this to match up with later. Now I'm going to add a layer above and draw in the flowers, and I'm going to make those, I think I'll draw those in purple to start with, but we are going to change up the colours on those later. So I'm just going to draw these in like this, and again remember, although the stems are pink and will be done in the extra folder, the flowers themselves are the dark ones in the black circles, so we do those on this layer. Now I'll make the blend mode on this linear burn so I can see the circles underneath. I'm going to add a layer above, grab this dark colour which I'll eventually be using for the background. I'm going to use my mini dot brush and I'm going to fill in this middle circle, so I want the brush quite big with this colour there. If I just show you quickly what that will look like with the background in this colour, and put this back to normal so that we can actually see them. That's how that's eventually going to look, but I'm working with the background in white because it's easier for you to see and there's less reflections, and you won't be able to see up my nose when I'm leaning forward on the screen. Now we'll draw in these pink parts in the extra group. So I'm going to swipe down with 3 fingers, copy all, turn the extra group on, tap on this layer here, swipe down again and paste. And then we can bring these edges into the middle. So we duplicate, tap transform, snap half of this over to the side there, making sure you've got that snapping into place. And then the other one you can bring over to this side, pinch those together, and then as you zoom in, you should see that this is all lined up too. So these pink parts here are what we need to draw. So add a layer above, and then just trace these parts in, merging them in carefully with this line here. There we go. I'm going to go back to the pattern folder now, so we'll hide that one for now and we'll work on some textures for this. So we'll start with the leaves, and I'm going to alpha lock this layer. I'm actually going to fill it with white, or this creamy peach colour. So tap that and fill, and then I'm going to grab the painty texture from this brush set, and I'm going to use orange and pink to scribble over the top with this. So we'll do one pass with orange, then I'm going to rotate it 45 degrees and do another pass with the pink. And then actually I might go back over the top again with the orange. Something like that. And then with the flowers, I'm also going to alpha lock those and make those that white peach colour as well. And then I'm going to go over the top with a mix of the orange, pink, purple and blue. So we'll start with the orange. Let's do a random mix of different colours with these. And then I'm going to add a layer above and fill in, if I hide the background colour, these little dots there. So I'm going to put a little dot in between each of these petals, and I'm going to make them like a contrasting colour to each flower. Grab a mini dot brush, and that sort of size should be okay. So then I'm just going to choose different colours to do these with. And then to finish up, I'm just going to do a few other random dots on this layer as well. Then the last thing we have to do is to just put this texture onto the extra group as well. So let's turn the extra group on and just alpha lock this layer. Fill it with the white colour. And then just grab this painty texture and go over the top with the orange and then the pink. Then we can duplicate this and take that up and out of the layers folder, and we can put this back on the edges now to build out the pattern tile, but we've still got the proper copy of it in there if we need to do any editing later. So I'll hide the extra folder now. And the pattern group, I'm going to turn off the pattern marker, duplicate the group, tap on that and flatten it, and bring that up outside of the layer group. Then we can turn this off. Let's hide the underneath one and put this back in its place on the edges first. So take the alpha lock off, and I'm going to draw a mark going off each of these corners there. Duplicate, tap transform, and bring that over to this edge there, snap it into place, and then this one, snap that over to that edge, and that's now back in its place on the edges. We can pinch, merge those two together, hide, erase that bit, turn this on, And we need to make sure that this extra is underneath so that it goes under those two flowers there. You can see if I have it on top, you can see the stalks. But if we put it underneath, that's looking okay. Then we can pinch and merge those together. We've got the marks there in the corners, so we can build out this pattern tile now. So duplicate, tap transform, snap this down and to the left, then duplicate again, tap transform and bring this up and to the left, duplicate the bottom one again and snap it up into this corner here, and this one down here now. Then these top four you can pinch together and erase these marks in the middle, and on the bottom layer erase those corner marks. Then you can pinch that together, and that is our finished pattern tile, which we just need to check is repeating properly now. So swipe down with 3 fingers and copy all. Add a layer right at the top and fill that with a colour, preferably a lighter colour, something that's going to contrast with your background, and then swipe down again and paste. Then snap this up into the middle there, duplicate, tap transform and snap this over to the edge. Then we can zoom into this middle bit here, and if there was any gaps or seams on the edges of the pattern, we'd see that pink showing through on this line there. But all those motifs are matching up and that's looking okay, so we can pinch those together. Then duplicate again, bring this down here, and then zoom in and check the top and bottom seams now. And there's no gap along there. All the motifs are lining up nicely, so we can pinch that together, and that is this pattern complete. Don't forget you can find the free stamp brushes, the colour palette and the gold texture overlay, although we didn't use that in this canvas today, but you can find all of those in the Pattern Makers Toolkit, and you'll also get 10% off the premium resources in my Etsy store. The Pattern Makers Toolkit is kind of like a free Patreon. You'll get a monthly email with creative prompts, seasonal colour palettes, early access to some of my YouTube videos, 10% off in my Etsy store, and a full library of free pattern making resources. It's just 1 email a month, no spam, and just goodies to help you stay creative. Also, my Skillshare classes are a great next step if you're loving this way of making patterns. New members get a free month using my link. Don't forget to subscribe here on YouTube for your weekly dose of pattern making fun. Have fun, stay creative, and I will see you soon.